Oh, brilliant. Yeah, okay. So I'm just going to pray really quickly and then we'll get going. So, Father, I thank you for this morning. Lord, I pray that as Luke prayed, every word that you want spoken will be spoken, nothing more, nothing less. And God, I just ask that you will just speak to people in this room, speak to each individual in whatever way they need this morning. We thank you, Father, in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. So, good morning, everyone. So I'm just clocking the time because I don't want to bore you or anything. So I'm just going to jump straight in this morning. So if we could have Romans 8:31 to 34 up, that would be great. So what then shall we say to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? He who did not spare his own son, but delivered him up for us all, how shall he not with him also freely give us all things? Who shall bring a charge against God's elect? It is God who justifies. Who is he who condemns? It is Christ who died, and furthermore is also risen, who is even at the right hand of God, who also makes intercession for us. So there's a few points that I just want to share on this, that God is for us. 100%. There's no doubt in your mind. God is for us. He gave his son for you and for me, which is an ultimate sacrifice. It's an ultimate sacrifice. He defends us and he has an unconditional love for each and every one of us, not just those of us that are in this room, not just those of us that believe in him and follow him, but actually he loves and gives an unconditional love to each and every person in this world, no matter what baggage they come with, no matter what baggage you and I came with or still have. And I want you to remember this as we talk this morning. So, you know me, I go away and I ask God, and the truth is I had loads of things and I thought they were really good things running through my mind, but God was like, no, you're not doing that, you're not doing that. And I was like, oh, okay. And truthfully, I'm really nervous this morning because when God asked me to share what he wanted, I was like, I don't want to. I really didn't want to. And I was a little bit taken aback because I'm not someone that has a problem with getting up here and sharing my experiences, sharing the good things that God's done, the struggles that I face. I don't have a problem with it. But there's also a timing for that. And God's asked me to share with you, and I'm probably going to get emotional throughout this, of where I've been the last few months. And I was a bit like, oh God, I really don't want to do it. And he was like, no, this is what you're doing. And I was like, but I'm not there yet. I'm not ready to share it, is what I felt. So God's just kind of gone, no, this is what you're going to do. And there are times that God asks you to step out. And it can be really uncomfortable. And you can be like, I don't want to do that. But if there's one thing I've learned in my 20 odd years of following Jesus, you're better off just doing it first time round, because otherwise you're going to go around the mountain. So I was like, okay, God, I'll go for it. So this is what I'm going to do. So over the last few months, there's, well, probably about a year actually, if I'm honest, but it's been more intense, more recent months. There's been so much going on. And as Luke touched on, I think it was Charlie who touched on it, there's so much going on in the world. If you turn on the news, it's just, there's so much constant. And it feels heavy, it feels hard work. And so many people that I talk to, they go, I don't watch the news because it just depresses me. Do you know what? I agree. Like, it is so depressing. There's not good stuff on there. It's constant stuff that just pulls you down, and you just sit there and you're like, what kind of a world am I living in? But there's all of that. So that's the world point of view. Then you've got church. We're 39 congregations over 10 nations, which is amazing. And it's incredible. And I'm like, God, you gave a vision 9 years ago. And now 9 years later, this is where we are. And that's amazing. But with that comes a behind the scenes of lots of weight, lots of problems that need dealing with. And it's brilliant because everyone gets excited when Aaron announces a new church plant. And those closest to me will watch me and go, she's over the moon at this one. And it's not that I don't want the vision to happen, but I know it's just another weight that's added. And I'm like, God, come on, like, let's break through in these areas. So you've got the world, you've got church, then you've got people. And people this last year have faced some really tough stuff. Some of the closest people to me, they've faced some really heavy stuff. And then there's myself. Then there's me. And I've battled with different things, and I've been like, God, this is so hard, this is so heavy. So when God said to me, this is what you were going to share, I was like, brilliant, this is going to be uplifting for them then, isn't it? So I'm really sorry, because I don't want to be like the news to you today. I don't want you to turn me on and be like, well, she's depressed, mate. I want you to walk out of here today actually more equipped to kind of deal with certain things. So for me, the past few months, I've had to dig deep. I've had to dig deep. I've had to really, really seek God. I've had to pray hard. I've had to fast. And the truth is, I've honestly felt like heaven has been silent. And that's what we're talking on today. Heaven is silent. Now, the truth is, I think you will all be able to kind of get where I'm coming from. You will have either experienced it, or you're going through it, or you're yet to experience it. If you're yet to experience it, don't worry, because there is a victory coming. I promise you. I promise you on that part, okay? So, in truth, as I've looked at this, and even though I felt like heaven has been silent, I know that heaven was never actually silent. And you're going to hear me refer back to when heaven is silent, but I'm going to say something first. When we feel heaven is silent, because heaven's never silent, but we feel like it is. And that is a trap that you can't fall into. Don't allow your feelings to take over, okay? Remember, the heart is deceitful. So, what does all of this look like? So when heaven is silent, it's a term that's kind of used when things can be difficult. You could be facing persecution. You could be facing suffering. You could feel that God's distant. He could even be unresponsive to you. You could be in all of this. You'll feel alone. And you may not see any change. In fact, you probably won't see any change. You'll be praying hard and you're like, God, where are you? Where are you in it? And you don't see it. But what you will see is others around you, and they're praying prayers. And you're like, but God, why are you answering that? And the truth is, we've got to rejoice with them, because that's what the Bible instructs us to do. But when you're in that place, sometimes it can be hard. Sometimes it can actually be easier to rejoice with others, because you're like, my victory's coming. It's coming. It might be tough right now, but my victory's coming. It's important that we do it. But it's in these times that we can find a strength. We can find a maturing in our own personal faith. It's in the valley times that sometimes we can walk through, and it can seem really hard and heavy, and you're not sure where to go. But it's in these times that God really molds you. He really shapes you. He kind of takes you away from those mountaintop moments, and actually He's doing a real work in you. He's doing a real work in you. And it's so important. So if you're here today and you're sitting there and you're like, do you know what? I get it. I feel like heaven's silent. You're in good company. You're in good company, because that's where I've been. I do feel like I'm coming out of it, which I'm very grateful for. Now, I love a good quote, and I found this one. God's delays are not God's denials. His silence is often the soil where trust grows deepest. You have a choice. You have a complete choice. When you feel heaven is silent, when you feel that distance, you've got a choice. You've got a choice to trust. You've got a choice to dig deep. And the truth is, that's exactly what I've done these last few months. Why? Because there hasn't been another choice. The other choice I could have taken, but it means giving up, and it lets the enemy win. And I'm not about to do that. I will continue to keep going for it and fighting. But we need to change our mindset. It's on us. It's not on the person next to you. It's not even on God. It's up to you to change your mindset to how you feel about this. But it can feel hard, because when you feel like you're forgotten, when you feel like actually this is really hard, God, excuse me, and you can't see the wood through the trees, so to speak, it can be really difficult. But actually, that's when we don't see clearly. And that's exactly when we need to get before God, and we need to sit at his feet, so then we can see clearly. We're not called to be comfortable in our faith. We're called to be faithful. Are you faithful? Are you ready to be faithful? Or are you sitting there going, oh, actually, I quite like being comfortable. You know, it's quite nice turning up to church and, you know, I sit there and I get a service and it's lovely and then I go out. But if God's speaking to you and he's kind of saying, I want you to step up and I want you to serve in this area. I want you to go and do this. Act on it, because that's what we're meant to do. That's what we're meant to do. We've got to embrace being faithful. And I think we need to really kind of check ourselves. And when I'm saying all of this, I'm talking to myself. We need to check ourselves, because being faithful is going to require things from you. It's going to require sacrifice. It's going to require you giving up things that perhaps you don't want to. It's going to require your time. It's going to change your life, because you can't do everything that you want. It's basically you're putting God first. You're putting God above everything. It's going to require a real sacrifice, and it's going to require you being taken out of your comfort zone and taken into a place that's uncomfortable. But you know what? Even going in the uncomfortable places, it's okay. It's okay. So women's ministry, and it was amazing, Luke. It was next level. Annika, I'll have a chat with you about what Wayne said after service. Just throwing him out there. If he listens to this later, he'll know. So it was amazing. And there were so many parts of women's ministry on Friday that were just a huge blessing. But there was one part right at the end, and I was packing away where we'd eaten and everything, and this young lady came in. And she'd been bought by a family member, and she went, oh, I don't normally come to these, but this is my first one and I've really, really enjoyed it. And I was like, oh, I'm really pleased. That's really good. And she started to just chat to me, and she went, yeah, I've just started this like internship. And she said, like, I've done a week of it. And I was like, oh, how are you finding it? And she's like, it's good, it's challenging, it's different. She said, it's kind of making me do things that I wouldn't normally do. And I said, oh, okay then. And she went, and tomorrow, yesterday, it was Saturday, she went, we're going out street evangelising. And I went, oh. And she went, I know. And I went, how are you feeling? She went, I'm quite nervous because I don't do that. And I'm like, no, I don't. And I find it nerve-wracking as well. Now, the truth is, it took me back to when we were on a prayer walk through the summer. I stupidly walked alongside Luke. And Joy and Bernie will probably remember. Joy's like, yeah, I remember this. Silly, so silly. Why did you do it? And we were walking around the reservoir, and then this Muslim man, I don't know if you remember, yeah, you remember, Mark, you're nodding because Mark swept in and saved the day. And he was talking to Luke, and he came in, and he wasn't really rude, but he was quite forceful, wasn't he? And I stood there and I was like, oh God, please send the others. They were dawdling. They were walking so slow around the reservoir. And I'm standing there and I thought, I can't even move because like we're in twos and everything right here. And Luke handled it brilliantly, but I'm standing there going, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. This is really awkward. And I saw that, I kept looking for them, and then all of a sudden I saw them and I thought, right, Mark. And Mark saw, and he came over and I went, yep, okay. And I just walked off because I was like, I can't do this. So then I left Mark. Me, Joy and Bernie were talking. They were in a conversation forever. And I was like, I've got to go now, so I'll see you all later. And I just left completely. But the truth is, God takes us into situations that are uncomfortable. But we have to step into them. That was one I didn't step into. I mean, in all fairness, that is definitely not my calling, and I know it. I am the prayer person, so I will stick with the prayer team. But we are called into things that aren't always easy. When we were at Oldbury, that's where I saw me and Aaron seeing out our days. That's what I saw. It was brilliant. We had this amazing vision and God was working on it, and it's brilliant. And then Birmingham came, brilliant. And then Aaron walked out of his office and he went, God's calling us to Birmingham. And I was like, what? I'm not ready for that. And I didn't want to come here. That's the truth of it. I didn't want to come here because it was uncomfortable. But God was saying, no, you've got to. And actually, I look now and I'm like, God, what you've done, the love that I have for Birmingham is just as great as it is for Oldbury, but it's completely different. It's completely different. He took me out of the comfort zone and placed me here. But it's really hard when you feel that heaven's silent to just push through and do things like that. You've got to really hear God. Whether we feel heaven is silent or not, we have to be ready to go, church. Whether you're in the valley or on the mountaintop, we're servants. We're here to serve God. That's our purpose. And we need to be ready to serve wherever he takes us. And sometimes it can be really hard when you're on that, when heaven's silent, and it's not necessarily the mountaintop and it's not necessarily the valley. Sometimes it can be a bit of a middle ground, so to speak. And it can be a little bit like a limbo place. And it can be like, God, I'm not like in the pit that I can't lift my head up, but I'm also not on the valley and on the mountain, but I just don't know where I am. Why? Because we feel heaven's silent, so we're not hearing him. That's the thing. It can be a hard and lonely place, but the truth is we're not alone, because we've got a Bible that literally shows us we're not alone. But do you know what's wonderful about the Bible? When you read it, not only are you seeing, actually, that person will have felt like I'm feeling right now, but you also see the victory. The thing is, our lives aren't a 5-minute quick read. They're not a chapter, so it doesn't always happen instantaneously. Sometimes it will take a long time. But we are in good company. Abraham, so God told him that despite his and his wife Sarah's age, that he would give them a son. Genesis 18, verse 10, please. And he said, I will certainly return to you according to the time of life. And behold, Sarah, your wife, shall have a son. Sarah was listening in the tent door, which was behind him. You will have a son. Now, God actually promised Abraham several times that he would have a son. That's what he promised. They were old, but that was the promise of God. But they had to wait 25 years. Now, waiting can feel like heaven's silent. Waiting can feel like heaven's silent. And I think sometimes we expect God to speak in straight away, but actually waiting is so important. Job, a man who experienced huge loss, he lost everything. He lost absolutely everything. And I am sure that he felt like heaven was silent at times. In his deepest, saddest despair, where was God? Job 30, verse 20, I cry out to you, but you do not answer me. I stand up and you regard me. Job's urgently praying, God, where are you? How many of us have sat there in our room, in our secret? God, where are you? Where are you in this? I can't see you. I can't hear you. Like heaven is silent. But actually, God steps in. Job 38, verse 1. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, God will speak in. He's going to speak in. It may not be exactly when you want it. It may not be exactly what you want to hear either. Be prepared for that one. But God will speak in. And the truth is, when God spoke into Job's life, he didn't give Job all of the answers to all of his questions. Read the book. He didn't answer every question that Job had. But actually, what he did was he stepped in powerfully, and that's what he showed. That's what he showed Job. Now, 21 years ago, when me and Aaron lost our daughter Megan, I had a million questions. They were whirling around my head. I had so many questions. I wanted answers to everything. For those of you that know me, I am an organiser. I am a list person. I like to know what we're doing, when we're doing it, what time, where we're doing everything. I am that, but that's the way God wired me. Can't help it. I wanted answers. I wanted those answers. And there were things that took place during that time that were taken out of my hands. I'd made choices, but actually doctors and nurses went, no, that's not happening. This is what we're doing. So I've got lots of questions about it. But the truth is, 21 years later, I've grown in my faith because that's where I found my faith. And actually, I don't have all the questions. I still have some. But I know one day when I get to heaven and I get that opportunity to ask God, I ain't going to care. By that point, I'm not going to be bothered about the answers to these questions. Why? Because here on earth, it's so different. Here on earth, what we see is so different. When we're in heaven, those things aren't going to matter. and we're not going to be bothered by them. Matthew 27:46. And about the 9th hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, saying, that is, my God, why have you forsaken me? And this here is a moment in Jesus' life where he was unguarded. He experienced a moment where he felt heaven was silent. If Jesus experienced it, don't be surprised if you're experiencing it. And whether we're in the middle of feeling heaven is silent, or you've experienced it, or whatever, we can see from our Bibles that we aren't alone. But the beauty of it is we can also see the ending. We can also see that God does step in. So if you're in that place, like me, don't feel like, oh, that's it, I'll throw the towel in, because God's going to step in. It doesn't mean he's going to step in this afternoon. I pray if you're in this situation, he does step in this afternoon. It may take a little while, but he will step in. He will step in. You see, we think differently to God. We're human. We've got our human nature. We've got actually very small minds. We can't think further. Sometimes we think that we can, but actually in comparison to God, it's minute. It's completely minute. God thinks on a much larger scale. He thinks in a way that's not just including you, but actually is weaving together so many things in this world that actually me and you could not even begin to do that. And I'm an organised person. I couldn't even begin to do some of those things. So we've got to remember that. So there will be times where you're like, I really feel like heaven's silent, but it doesn't mean that God's not working. It doesn't mean he's not at work, because he always is at work. Isaiah 55 verse 8 to 9. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are your ways my ways, says the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. God's thoughts are superior to ours. We have to remember that. God's thoughts are superior to ours. So even when things don't go our way, or the way that we think, God, you should do it this way, you should do it at this point, he can see far more. And actually, we know that he wants the best for us. He wants the best for this world. So he's not going to get it wrong. Us, on the other hand, try and step in and mess it all up all the time. That's what we do. We have to learn to trust him completely. During COVID, when I was preparing this, God was bringing all sorts of things back to me. And it was during COVID, like it was the lockdowns. And if you remember, wasn't that summer amazing? Like, honestly, I'm like, God, you were so good in that. Like, you gave us sun. But during COVID, God spoke to me, and he took me on this journey of fasting. It was really quite intense. I've shared with a few of you before. It was quite intense, actually. And I always remember this one particular fast during COVID. And you know what Aaron's like? Yeah, we have a lot of banter in our house, a lot of banter. The kids are the same as him as well. And I'm the one that literally is on the receiving end of the banter all the time. But hey, it's part of my role as the mum. So I was fasting this one particular day, and you've got the kids kind of going, oh, what are you doing? Trying to save the world. I'm like, one day you'll understand and you'll be doing this, whatever. And there was this one fast, and honestly, it was literally like, and I shouldn't have told Aaron this. That was my first mistake. But it was like God was on the phone to me. It was incredible. So obviously I share this with my husband thinking he's going to encourage me. And he's like, oh yeah, because out of the whole world, God's chosen you to ring up. And I'm like, it's not quite what I meant, but you know, there was a lot of banter about it. But it was the one time that I look back, and literally it was a 3-week fast I did. And it was honestly, like, it was weird. It was like I was walking around with this invisible phone stuck to my ear, and God was just speaking constantly. So anything I said would be like, oh, did God say that? Yes, actually. Yes, God did say that, and you'll do well not to mock me. But it was really, really good. And it's probably the most consistent and clear time that I have ever heard God in that way. It was amazing. But as I was pulling this together, I looked back and I thought, God, I've done loads of fasting since then, and it's never been that same. It's never hit to that level. And I was like, what is the difference? And God showed me, and it's so clear. You know when God just shows you and you're like, oh, now I feel like the really, really thick one in the class, God, because that was obvious. But he was like, Helen, every distraction was taken from you. It was COVID. There was nothing to do. So what did I do? Had to cook every single day, which every woman, mom, and some dads and men will be like, yeah, I had to do that too. That was probably the worst thing about COVID for me. I was like, I am sick of cooking. I did actually make Aaron do one meal a week on a Monday. He did it once. It's not lasted. I thought we were on to a winner. No. It was pretty much, yeah, it weren't much better actually, Charlie, to be honest with you. But God showed me, he was like, Helen, every distraction was gone. Because actually you were in a place where you couldn't do anything. Like nothing was open. You couldn't do anything. Aaron and the kids were there. We'd have time together. That was brilliant. But, you know, my kids didn't want to sit with me for 12 hours a day. You know, that was too intense for them. But literally, what did I do during that time? I read my word. I listened to worship. I listened to sermons. I journaled. I fasted. I got before Jesus' feet. Every distraction was gone. And I was like, God, that's the thing. That's the thing. How can I hear you when I've got so many distractions around me? Because my mind then goes to the distractions. Whereas in that fast, everything had gone. Everything had gone. So it was so clear. And there are times when I look back and every now and then I go to Aaron, oh, weren't COVID good? And that's probably the wrong thing to say to some people. I know. But I know what God did in that time for me. Psalm 46 verse 10 says, be still and know that I am God. Phil, can you show that picture for me? So this picture, there's probably quite a few of you in this room that have had this from me. Be still, that's me. And that's you, is the truth of it. Because what happens is we try to come before God and we sit there and we try and focus, but actually there's a million things whirling around our mind. And actually we're not really being still. And it's really hard. And I'm not saying it's easy to undo all of that, okay? It's hard and it's challenging. But what we've got to do is we've got to put the distractions down. I can't expect Rachel to take away my distractions. That's completely on me. So it's really important that we do that. And I am someone that if anyone comes to me with a problem or anything, some of my first questions are, have you really prayed about it? And when I mean pray about it, not a quick 5-minute prayer in the car on the way to see me. No, have you really gone away and prayed and seek God in it? That's your first point of call, because you can go to anyone. You can go to one of the leaders. You can go to your close friend, but none of them are God. None of them are God. So you need to hear God. Have you really prayed about it? My second question is always, have you fasted? Why? Because I will advocate fasting, because it clearly states in our Bibles, when you pray, when you fast, when you give. 3 commands from Jesus. Simple. It's not difficult. You are expected to do it. And it sounds quite harsh the way that I'm saying it, but it's the truth. Read the word. If you've got a problem with it, take it up with God, because I didn't write the Bible. When you pray, when you fast, those are my first 2 things. And if you haven't done that, how are you going to hear from God? Heaven is going to be silent if you haven't done those things. You've got to go and do them. So it's really, really important. But the beauty of it all is, oh, thank you. Thank you. I'll just give you that. Sorry. Thank you. So it is really, really important that we do that, because God's equipped us for it. And I think God knew exactly what he was doing when he said, when you pray, when you fast, be still and know that I am God. He knew that there were going to be times in our lives where we were like, God, where are you? Why is heaven silent? He knew that that would happen. So it's really important. The song Waymaker, it's a classic really, isn't it? But look at those lyrics. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. And remember the feeling. God isn't our feelings. He's not our feelings, and we've got to remember that. We've got to get to a place where we become mature in our faith. That's on us. It's completely on us. There's going to be times where you feel heaven is silent, but it's about how you respond, and it's about responding right. It's not about throwing in the towel and giving up or anything like that, or having a little bit of a pity party to yourself or whatever, or going to everyone, God's not talking to me. It's not about that. It's actually the complete opposite. It's about really putting God first, really seeking him, really going for prayer, going in for prayer hard, going in for fasting, seeking godly counsel. There's nothing wrong with that. Seek godly counsel. It's important that you've got people around you praying and covering you, but they can't do it for you. They can't do it for you. It's about pushing forward. And I guarantee if you put some of these things in place, you're going to hear God. You're going to hear God. I'm not saying it's going to be instantaneous, because it isn't always, but you are going to hear him. Because you see, when we feel heaven is silent, we're just waiting. We're waiting for God to step in and give the answers. Acts 1, 4-5. And being assembled together with them, he commanded them not to depart from Jerusalem, but to wait for the promise of the Father, which he said, you have heard from me, for John truly baptized with water, but you shall be baptized with the Holy Spirit not many days from now. Now here, Jesus is giving a really clear instruction to his disciples to wait, but to wait for the promise of the Father. That's the instruction. Jesus has got nothing else to say to them at the moment, but to wait. You've got to wait, okay? Now, waiting isn't always easy. Anyone got really good patience? Because I know I haven't. We live in a world that everything is instant. Everything, a click of a button, you get it. Everything's instant. So it's not surprising that actually we're a group of people, we're a nation, we're a world that struggles with waiting. It's not surprising because of the world that we live in today. But that's what Jesus is saying to his disciples, to wait. And he's also not stating how long they have to wait. Now, he is saying not many days from now, but he's not giving them a definitive timescale. He's not giving them that. And I think sometimes we have to learn that actually these times of waiting, these times where we feel heaven is silent, that's where we grow some of the deepest and the most. And it's not easy. It's not easy, but God is always at work, and he's always at work for our best. I love this quote. Silence is not absence. It's often the sacred space where your character is built and your faith deepens. Remember, a seed grows in silence before it breaks the surface. A seed grows in silence before it breaks the surface. Now, for me, at the start of this, as I said, I was really reluctant. And the truth is, I sat there yesterday and I re-looked at this talk, and I was just like, God, I really don't want to do it. Even yesterday, to be fair, even this morning, even during worship, I actually was half tempted to go to Luke, do you just want to take it? Do you just want to do it? But then I thought that would be really mean. But if anyone can do it, Luke can do it. So I was like, he's the right person in here. So I really didn't want to do it, if I'm honest, because it's been difficult. And I have experienced times like this before, but there's something different in this time, and it's just felt so much more intense. It's felt so much more relentless, and God's had to take me on this journey, and I don't know why he's had to take me on this journey. I'm hoping he will tell me one day, but he might not as well. But he's had to take me on this journey of how I handle things when I feel heaven is silent. And like I say, I haven't done it right all the way through, because each one of us isn't perfect. We don't get it right all the way through, but I have pushed through. I have dug deep. And I suppose if there's anything that I want to share with you today, don't give up. Don't give up. Keep pushing forward, because the victory is coming. And the truth is, just because you feel heaven is silent doesn't mean it is. In fact, it's far from silent. Heaven isn't silent. God isn't silent. At one point, I was praying and fasting, and I just didn't see why, as it felt like there was just such a distance. But I pushed through because I knew if I didn't, the enemy wins. So there wasn't a choice, because I'm not about to lay down and allow the enemy to win. We need to remember there will be times where you could be in the most dangerous, deserted battlefield, but the flowers will still sprout. You could feel so low and alone that you don't know how to carry on, but a new day is coming. You could feel so isolated from God, so distant, but he's still fighting and interceding for you. You could be in a cycle of sin that you don't like, that you want rid of, but he'd still get back up on that cross for you. Sorry, I knew this is why I didn't want to do it. This is exactly why I didn't want to do it, God. So I don't know why he's teaching me in this. When heaven is silent, there's still beauty. You just need to look properly to see it. So it felt really heavy lately. Oh, that's made me smile because it's like blue roll and not tissue. Thanks, Charlie. You have just saved the day there. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, God, for Charlie. Oh dear. Okay, so there's been lots that I've really been praying into. There's been lots that's been heavy. And the truth is, life seemed to take over. And I lost the focus. I did. I lost the focus for a little while. And I think we can all do that. The weight took over and I had to make a choice. And I had to choose to focus on him because that's what I needed. And that's what I had to do in order to push through. And that's exactly what you will have to do if you're in the same place. You have a choice to make. It doesn't mean it's easy and it can still feel lonely. We have a hope and a future, and heaven is never silent. Because for me, how can my God, who loves me, who is for me, who intercedes for me, ever be silent when I come before him? Going back to Romans 8:31-34. Remember, God is for us. He gave his son for us. He defends us. He unconditionally loves us. And he and heaven are never silent. He's always fighting for you.